I don't know you, but if you're watching this video right now, alcohol is probably playing some kind of role in your life. And you considered at least once to either quit completely or take a break. Or maybe you're curious to know what your life would be like without the magic liquid. If that's you, I would like to share my journey with you. Because for more than a year, I have completely dropped alcohol. I haven't drunk any single drop of alcohol for more than a year. And I found out quite a few interesting things, to say the least. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. And at the end of this video, I will tell you if I will continue my total abstinence and if it is also a good idea for you to do the same. To give you some context, I live in Switzerland, and in this country, alcohol has a pretty strong presence in our culture. To give you an idea, you can buy beer and wine as soon as you are 16 years old. Even though, as you can imagine, most people start drinking before they're 16. And of course, I was a good boy enough to wait to be 16 to start drinking. And then it is a habit that followed me for basically a decade. In the meantime, I went to high school and college where the partying culture was very strong, and of course, alcohol was always present. And then, one day, I even remember the exact date, on March 7, 2020, right before the COVID pandemic, I went out with some friends and I drank in excess, to put it mildly. And then the next morning, I was feeling so crappy, so sick, so bad in general, that I said to myself, no, I just can't continue like that. I have to stop doing that to myself. And from that day onward, I decided I would drink only moderately and socially. I decided to completely cut the heavy drinking and the binge drinking. That went on for a while, but it didn't work out very well. Because at the end of 2022, I went out with some colleagues after work to go for a few drinks, and it went a bit out of control. And again, the next morning, I was feeling so bad and so crappy that time I said, no, it's over. I completely quit. There were no more excuses. And well, now, more than a year later, I haven't drunk any single drop of alcohol. And I really noticed a lot of things that changed in my life. A lot of positive impact and some things that are not so positive. And that's what I would like to share with you right now. The first thing I noticed when I stopped drinking is that I actually have so much time. Well, you know that. We love to say that we don't have enough time. And that was also my case back when I was drinking. But after I stopped completely, I said, wow, actually one day is really so long. And one weekend, really, if we use it wisely, it can be so long. There are so many hours. Because what happens when you're drinking? You're going out, you're partying, sometimes until 5 or 6 a.m. Then the next day, you're completely tired, hungover, feeling like shit, so you have to recover for 12 hours, or sometimes, in my case, I had to recover for an entire day before feeling good and productive again. And when you start calculating, when you count all the hours that you dedicated to drinking, you realize that sometimes you waste 20 or 25 hours, or even more than that, just for drinking in a single week. But when I stopped drinking, well, partying didn't make sense very much because what's the purpose of partying when you're not drinking? It's very difficult to get in the mood of partying without drinking, you know what I mean? And also, if I went out with some friends, even if I didn't drink, well, I would go home much earlier, maybe 11 or 12 or 1 a.m. maximum. And of course, the next morning I was feeling fresh and healthy because I didn't drink any alcohol. As a result, I suddenly had 10 or 15 extra hours in my hands. And for a young professional like me, who's also an entrepreneur at the same time is the most valuable asset. I mean, it's the most valuable asset for everybody. And all that extra time, I spent it in productive activities such as working out or working on my business or spending time with the people who matter to me or just resting and taking care of myself because, believe it or not, that's also a productive activity. So yeah, all of that goes to say that for somebody like me who really likes to squeeze time until the last juice, having so much extra time was really a blessing and something that really increased my quality of life. The second thing I noticed after I stopped drinking is that I avoided a lot of embarrassing moments because I didn't say or do very dumb things. Even though to this day I still say or do things that are very dumb sometimes, but it happens a bit less frequently. I mean, you know what I mean. Thing is, when I was under the influence, I really did and said things that were extremely stupid. And even though they happened years ago, I still have to cringe to this day. But when I stopped, of course, they stopped happening because the root cause of this happening was alcohol. And if you cut the root cause, it doesn't happen anymore. Hopefully for me, all of those things didn't have any long-term consequences. But I mean, I'm not teaching you anything. Sometimes when people drink, they do things that have long-term consequences, such as drunk driving and getting into an serious accident or getting into a fight where somebody is seriously injured. And what I learned after an entire year without alcohol is that I could completely eliminate the risk of those things happening, which is always a good thing. Funny enough, when some people noticed that I was not drinking alcohol at all, they suddenly perceived me as this person who was so responsible and so disciplined, and they somehow trusted me more because I was not drinking alcohol, which is always a nice bonus. The third thing I noticed after I stopped drinking alcohol is something more of a sensitive topic, because it is something that looks negative when you see it on the surface, but deep down you can turn it into a positive. And this thing is that, well, I have fewer relationships. A lot of people don't want to quit alcohol because they're scared that their social life is going to take a hit if they do so. And to be honest, yes, after you quit alcohol, your social life is probably going to take a hit. But wait, listen, this is not necessarily a negative thing, because alcohol is kind of a social lubricant. It's kind of a glue that keeps a lot of relationships together. And my question is really that if you need that glue, if you need alcohol as a glue to keep a friendship or relationship together, is it really a high quality relationship? The answer is probably no. And in my case, I had to focus on quality instead of quantity. Right now, my circle of friendships and relationships is very narrow. But all those relationships, they are high quality and deep relationships. And in my experience, and at least for me, it is much better than having a lot of average quality relationships with alcohol as a social lubricant. And that leads me to you, the introvert who's watching this video, because I know that a lot of introverts, just like me, they use alcohol to be a bit more outgoing and to be a bit more extroverted and to make it easier to bond with other people and to talk with strangers. You know what I'm talking about, don't look at me that way. And yes, as an introvert, alcohol can look like this magical liquid, but you're just fooling yourself in reality. Because after I quit alcohol, I couldn't rely on it as a crutch anymore, which led to more acceptance of who I was and coming back to what I said earlier, of having a narrower circle, something that works better for me, but with higher quality and deeper relationships. As a conclusion, because I know I said a lot of things, living life without alcohol is something that allowed me to be overall happier, to have better health, better relationships, more productivity, spending more time on my purpose, one of them being those YouTube videos. And now comes the question, will I ever drink again? Was all of that just a break or a permanent thing? And the answer is, I'll never drink again. It's something I really had to think very hard about. But when I really thought about it, about whether I was going to drink again, I just asked myself the question, why would I do it? I mean, really, because when I say that, people ask me, why not? But then I ask myself the question, why would I do it? Why yes? By drinking alcohol, when I really think about it, I'm not gonna get anything positive about it. In the best case scenario, it's gonna be neutral, nothing positive, and in the worst case scenario, a lot of horrible things will happen. So what's the point of drinking, really? And now comes the second $1 million question. Should you also quit alcohol? Should you also make a break? And my honest answer to this is, I don't know. As I said at the beginning of the video, I don't know you. We're all unique individuals with different stories, different futures, different motivations and all of that. So I cannot come to you and tell you alcohol is not good for you. You should quit. You should do the same that I did. That simply doesn't work. However, I can make a little suggestion, which is just try it. Just try it. Just make a break for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever that may be. You're not going to lose anything by just trying. And I mean, after this specific period of break is over, then you decide what you do. You either continue drinking or you drop it forever. It's up to you. But at least you'll be able to make a clever and informed decision, which is the most important. And I am curious to know what you're going to do now. Are you going to take a break? If so, how long? Or are you going to quit forever? Let me know in the comments below. And that was the purpose of this video. It was to encourage you and empower you to take a break with alcohol, to see for yourself what works best for you. And one little bonus about living life without alcohol, I really have to talk about it, especially for guys. You know, I have to talk about How about the cucumber? You know, it's when you don't drink alcohol, it's kind of more voluminous. When it gets frisky and it's kind of stronger. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what I mean.